And we're looking at a very quiet picture as we're looking at the riverfront right now. Some areas inland have picked up some showers and storms with some heavy downpours, but overall I think the weather has cooperated for folks to continue to prepare for this historic storm that is moving closer and closer to North Carolina. As you can see here, it's still a little ways from the coast, but it's making steady progress towards the area. And as you can see here on the visible satellite, and a very impressive storm here as you're looking at the sunlight gleaming on the eastern portion of this eye wall as you're looking down into the eye, down into the ocean there. What an impressive storm it is. It has winds of 140 miles an hour. That's up from the last advisory. The barometric pressure has dropped by 5 millibars, meaning a deeper and stronger storm. Moving to the west-northwest at 17 miles an hour. It is forecast to continue to move on this track and possibly strengthen to near Category 5 storm as we go into Wednesday afternoon into the wee hours of the morning on Thursday. What we're banking on is the upper level shear to increase, and this would hopefully weaken the storm down to a Category 3 or 4 as we go into Thursday night into Friday afternoon. Here's the problem with the track. The forecast steering currents are expected to weaken, and that could mean the storm could meander over the region. Where this exactly happens is still up for debate. The cone of uncertainty all the way down towards the Georgia border, all the way up into Tidewater, Virginia. Some areas could get inundated with epic rainfall. Let's take a look at the European forecast. This is the model that has been bringing the storm into our area over the last several runs. You can see by the timeline, we're going to see things start to deteriorate during the afternoon. The height of this storm looks like it'll come in as we go into Thursday night and Friday. If this track were to verify, the east-facing beaches are going to be really vulnerable to a life-threatening storm surges. All this water is going to be forced up onto land with the concavity of the coastline, so certainly looking very ominous. And this system, according to the European, could stall off the coast for a while and inundate us with more rainfall as we go into Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday as it begins to move away. That's one system we're looking at. Here's the next model we're looking at, the GFS. It was the model that had the system farther to the north. Now it is agreeing with the European, so our confidence is starting to go up with the track of this storm. It too is showing a very ominous picture here as we go into Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, into Thursday night. And again, it's this part of the storm is the strongest part. On the right side of where the center makes landfall, this would not be a good situation for us, but it does move the system a little bit farther towards the west and maybe cutting off the rain a little bit more. So let's take a look at the individual threats here. We just showed you both models there, but the threats are extreme all across the board with the exception of the tornado threat, and I do think likely there will be some tornadoes, unfortunately, but extreme effects on flooding, wind, marine, and also storm surge as the winds are going to increase as we go through Thursday afternoon. The hurricane force winds are going to increase as we go into Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, into Friday. And let's take a look at the wind forecast according to our model here as we go through Tuesday night into Wednesday. No problems whatsoever, but it'll be once we get into Thursday morning, we'll start to see tropical storm force winds begin to encroach upon the area. And look what this model does. It has the system coming very close to our area, and look at the wind gust here by Thursday evening. Over hurricane force winds in Wilmington, over towards Southport, and some of these numbers could be on the low side, as you can see here, into Friday morning, the wee hours of the morning, and this onshore flow will continue to pile this water onto the barrier islands as it continues to move inland. As far as rainfall is concerned, we're talking about a possibility of epic rainfall across the area. We're looking at rainfall amounts that are getting into the Floyd range. Hurricane Floyd back in 1999, the GFS model, the American model, now has a farther south track and has the axis of heavier rain right over our area. Look at these numbers here, up to 17 to 19 inches, and with the European model stalling the storm right off the coast, well, it is possible. I know these are incredible numbers, but it is possible somewhere in the Carolinas there could be some numbers like this, which would certainly be catastrophic flooding across the area. So here are the key points. Expected landfall as a major hurricane dangerous, life-threatening situation. Listen to authorities and go if you're asked to leave.
Here is the official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. It was updated at 5 p.m. and we think by all accounts that this is going to be a major hurricane impacting the Carolina coast. And you see the forecast line here. That is 1 point, but remember, a hurricane is not a point. Tropical storm and hurricane force winds extend far from the center. Impacts are far from the center. Every location along the coast of North and South Carolina will be impacted by this hurricane. Precisely where it crosses the coastline, though, will determine the severity of those impacts. The Hurricane Center's forecast did drift just a little bit back to the south and west here, which would increase our risk from higher wind and also increase our storm surge. I'm going to show you what the winds and the storm surge and the rain could be like here in just a moment. What you'll notice here most of all, and it has me most concerned at this point in time, is that from the time we're nearing landfall around Friday at 2 p.m. to the point on Sunday afternoon, the Hurricane Center shows us just traveling several hundred miles. That means it's a very slow process for this to move out of the area, which leads to tremendous amounts of rain over time. Some of the big hurricanes we've had that have dumped more than a foot of rain have only been around for about 24 hours. There's the potential here for this one to be around for 2 or 3 days, dumping periods of very heavy tropical rain on our area. And that will no doubt lead to incredible flooding. Not necessarily right here. For now, that may be over southeastern North Carolina, but it's so close. If this track shifts to the south and west, our risk of incredible flooding would be going up. Here's the bottom line. Major impacts are likely. The severity of the rain, the wind, and the surge still not known. We know that the wind is going to be high. We know we're going to get rain, and we know we'll have a significant storm surge, but just how severe will depend on the exact track. And once again, we're still 2.5 days out with less clarity than yesterday, given the model runs we've seen today. This will likely be a long duration event, especially if this hurricane basically stalls and meanders or is very slow to move westward. So impacts would start to arrive as we head through Thursday, with conditions going downhill, probably peaking as we head through Friday and Friday night. And then, of course, it may last right on through the weekend with rounds of rain, especially as we head through Saturday. Overall, though, our confidence is low in where this is actually going to go. More questions today than answers, because some models even have this never making landfall and hovering off the coast 20 or 30 miles. It's incredible, the difference in some of the models over the past 24 hours or so. So my one piece of advice, prepare for the absolute worst case scenario. All right, let's move on and talk about wind. If the National Hurricane Center's forecast track actually holds and it's up near the Wilmington area, that's no doubt where we'll have all the big time wind around here, is basically in southeastern North Carolina. For us, tropical storm to Cat 1 hurricane conditions, that's not awful by any stretch of the imagination compared to a direct hit here in southeastern North Carolina, but still there could be damage and power outages even from a low-end Category 1 hurricane. And of course, this wind field will change depending on exactly where this hurricane goes. If it drifts south and west of us, we could get into higher hurricane force winds around here, but it would be very difficult to get to a 4 or 3 given the forecast tracks that are on the table right now. So that's somewhat good news. Rainfall, we're going to watch this very, very carefully, because I'm going to show you 4 different models here, and all 4 have slightly different positions for the heaviest rainfall as we head through the end of the week into the upcoming weekend. This model shows the bullet right over southeastern North Carolina from Wilmington up toward Jacksonville with 30 inches of rain. Also on this model from east of Lumberton out toward Wilmington, it shows 30 to 35 inches. In the pink here, which would be into Robeson County, that's 20 to 25. Now, we're not forecasting that at all right now. I'm just letting you know that the potential for incredibly heavy rainfall is there. We can't be precise with the location right now. The other model shows most of the heavy rain would be out over the Outer Banks. We could still get 6 to 10 or even 15 inches of rain across our area. Right now, the consensus of a lot of the models and also the Weather Prediction Center, who does a lot of the preset forecasting for us, is showing roughly 10 inches of rain across our area at this point in time. And then you have one model that shows that bullet between New Bern and Wilmington with lesser amounts across the PD and on the border belt. Again, you need to prepare for the possibility of a significant flood event somewhere in our area. Storm surge is actually going to be quite high, 4 to 6 feet for Georgetown, Pawleys Island, Murrells Inlet, up to Myrtle Beach. That rivals, if not surpasses, what we had with Hurricane Matthew, although not as high as Hurricane Hugo. You get up here from North Myrtle Beach to Little River, all the way to Oak Island, up toward Wilmington. We're talking a 6 to 9 foot storm surge here, and that could be quite damaging given how much that water will rise. And when you have rising water in a hurricane, it's also wind driven, which means you have tremendous waves. That wave action is very powerful, and that can be very, very destructive as well.